friends. We're reading Little House in the Big Woods, and we're on page 170. We're going to find out what Ma and Pa buy at the store in the town of Pepin. Pa and Ma traded for a long time. Remember, they're not using money, they're trading. The storekeeper took down bolts and bolts of beautiful calico material and spread them out for Ma to finger and look at and price. Laura and Mary looked but must not touch. Every new color and pattern was prettier than the last, and there were so many of them. Laura did not know how Ma would ever choose. Ma chose 2 patterns of calico to make shirts for Pa, and a piece of brown denim to make him a jumper. Then she got some white cloth to make sheets and underwear. So she's making sheets that go on the bed, and she's also making their underwear. Can you imagine? She has a lot of work to do. Pa got enough calico to make Ma a new apron. Ma said, "Oh no, Charles, I don't really need it." But Pa laughed and said she must pick it out, or he would get her the turkey red piece with a big yellow pattern on it. Ma smiled and flushed pink, and she picked out a pattern of rosebuds and leaves on a soft fawn-colored ground. Then Pa got for himself a pair of galoshes and some tobacco to smoke in his pipe, and Ma got a pound of tea and a little paper package of store sugar to have in the house when company came. It was a pale brown sugar, not dark brown like the maple sugar Ma used for every day. When all of the trading was done, the storekeeper gave Mary and Laura each a piece of candy. They were so astonished and so pleased that they just stood there, looking at their candies. And then Mary remembered and said thank you. Laura could not speak. Everybody was waiting, and she could not make a sound. Ma had to ask her, "What do you say, Laura?" Then Laura opened her mouth and gulped and whispered, "Thank you." After that, they went out of the store. Both pieces of candy were white and flat and thin and heart-shaped. There was printing on them in red letters, and Ma read it for them. Mary said, "Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you." Laura's said only, "Sweets to the sweet." The pieces of candy were exactly the same size. Laura's printing was larger than Mary's. They all went back through the sand to the wagon on the lake shore. Pa fed the horses on the bottom of the wagon box some oats he had brought for their dinner. Ma opened the picnic box. They all sat on the warm sand near the wagon and ate bread and butter and cheese, hard-boiled eggs and cookies. The waves of Lake Pepin curled up on the shore at their feet and slid back with the smallest hissing sound. After dinner, Pa went back to the store to talk a while with the other men. Ma sat holding Carrie quietly until she went to sleep, but Laura and Mary ran along the lake shore, picking up pretty pebbles that had been rolled back and forth by the waves until they were polished smooth. There were no pebbles like that in the big woods. When she found a pretty one, Laura put it in her pocket, and there were so many, each prettier than the last, that she filled her pocket full. When Pa called and they ran back to the wagon, for the horses were hitched up and it was time to go home. Laura was so happy when she ran through the sand to Pa with all those beautiful pebbles in her pocket. But when Pa picked her up and tossed her into the wagon, a dreadful thing happened. The heavy pebbles tore her pocket right out of her dress. The pocket fell, and the pebbles rolled all over the bottom of the wagon. Can you see her pocket? Ma had sewed that pocket in her dress when she made her dress, and the pocket fell out. And there are her rocks. Laura cried because she had torn her best dress. Ma gave Carrie to Pa and came quickly to look at the torn place, and then she said it was all right. "Stop crying, Laura," she said. "I can fix it." She showed Laura that the dress was not torn at all, nor the pocket. The pocket was a little bag sewn into the seam of the dress and hanging under it. Only the seams had ripped. Ma could sew the pocket in again, as good as new. "Pick up the pretty pebbles, Laura," Ma said, "and another time, don't be so greedy." So Laura gathered up the pebbles, put them in the pocket, and carried the pocket in her lap. She did not mind very much when Pa laughed at her for being such a greedy little girl, that she took more than she could carry away. Nothing like that ever happened to Mary. Mary looked very good and sweet and unrumpled and clean, sitting on the board beside Laura. But it had been a wonderful day, the most wonderful day in her whole life. She thought about the beautiful lake and the town she had seen and the big store full of so many things. She held the pebbles carefully in her lap and her candy heart wrapped carefully in her handkerchief until she got home, and could put it away and keep it always. It was too pretty to eat. The wagon jolted along on the homeward road through the big woods. The sun set and the woods grew darker, but before the last of the twilight was gone, the moon rose, and they were safe because Pa had his gun. The soft moonlight came down through the tree tops and made patches of light and shade on the road ahead. The horses' hooves made a cheery clippity-clop. Laura and Mary did not say anything because they were very tired, and Ma sat silently holding baby Carrie sleeping in her arms, but Pa sang softly, "Mid pleasures and palaces though we may roam, be it ever so humble, there's no place like home." And that's all for today.